Our Korean education system are overhyped, and I think they are. As someone who has finished and completed the Global Career Scholarship Program under one of the top universities here in South Korea, HAJA University, I can confidently say that there is this mismatch in terms of what is being presented in the internet over the Korean educational system and to what's happening on the ground. And this might sound very controversial because I'm making contents about Global Career Scholarship Program, life, and studies here in South Korea, but I just want to give you the reality of it. And as someone who expected so much with the Korean educational system, it's so different when it comes to the actual learning and syllabus here in South Korea. So to give you a background, each class, each course has their own syllabus. They have to follow and then probably use that as the guide for their teaching and education and such. Unfortunately, when I checked some of these syllabus, the courses I took, they are very simple. They're not master's level. I felt like it when I studied my bachelor's degree in the Philippines, it was very rigorous. I had so many presentations, so many things to do. I think that was bachelor's degree. That's why it has a lot of things. But when you go to master's here in South Korea, based on my experience at HAJA University, they are also very simple. What happened to me was like it was just a refresher course, and the classes I took in bachelor's degree during my bachelor's degree are just similar to what I took here for my master's. And then they are courses. There are courses that I liked in terms of content and because of the teaching style. The professors were able to gather the attention of the people, of the student, and then make it more engaging by conducting more like a, I forgot the term. It's a Greek term of how they discuss MBA classes. Wait, let me check about. Yeah, Socratic method. So during my undergraduate degree, I was able to experience the Socratic method for my BSBA, but unfortunately during my MBA classes, I was not able to take it. There's no such thing. And this is where the expectation versus reality hit me because I was expecting too much, like so much for this MBA program. And then probably it was on my first semester when I realized that that kind of Socratic method of learning is not available here in South Korea, unfortunately. Especially, I'm not sure with the other classes, other universities, but for my major of choice, it was not there. So technically, it was just lectures and then presentations, lectures, presentations, and then that's it. I think what lacked during my MBA was that there was no discourse, there was no discussion, and there are many factors that could affect that kind of scenario. And I think one of the factors is that not all students who are in the MBA classes are experienced students. So some of them, like 60-70% of my classmates are fresh from undergraduate. Not looking down on these type of profile, but for me, the way I see MBA specifically, you should have at least working experience that you can draw from when it comes to class discussions. Because MBA is more of like combining what you've learned in undergraduates and what you've experienced in the working life, combining both and then making sense out of it. That's MBA based on my understanding. But here in South Korea, in terms of intake of students, they really do not really assess that much if you have working experience. I think that's one thing. That's one of the missed opportunities for me because I was expecting that I'll be discussing with at least 4-year work experience, 5-year work experience, but it turned out like I was one of the oldest people in the class in terms of work experience, and then majority of my classmates are fresh graduates. And again, this is something that you should consider because masters making it's like Korea's perception of masters is more of on the paper, not on the learning experience, if that makes sense. Meaning, when you get the degree, the master's degree, you're finished. But when assessing how was it during the class, the discussion, in the exchange, it was not actually there. And again, this is not to scare you, and probably this is more of to set your expectations about life here in South Korea, especially with masters and PhD, because I know some of you, especially from, like, I'm a Southeast Asian. I had so much expectation when it comes to Korea, Japanese, Chinese, Taiwanese educational system. And unfortunately, if you're really aiming for that high level discussion type, it's not here in South Korea. Probably go to the European universities or in the US. And I think language also plays very critical point when it comes to establishing these kinds of discussion, because again, some of my majority of my professors, 90% of them are Koreans, and though they can express themselves in English effectively, there this sense of lack of engagement. And also because of the classmates you have, since if none of 50% of them cannot really speak English, how do you expect them to participate during the English discussion classes? That's another thing. Anyways, don't be scared still. GKS is a good scholarship. Just be mindful in choosing your program, and I hope you get a very good experience compared to what I had. Bye bye.